Rome, Italy. A sudden and violent hailstorm hit the heat of the Rome on a Wednesday afternoon, catched residents and tourists off guard. When less than an hour hailstorm the size of a golf ball pelted the city, breaking windows, dented cars and flooded streets across the central districts including Trastevere, Prati and Monti. The noise was different. It sounded like a warzone, said Luca Bianchi, a local shop owner. Shoppers ran for cover and hail-smashed storefronts, where quickly flooded the streets and cars were stranded in Wednesday public puddles. Emergency service reported over the 215 calls for assistance, preliminary for damaged vehicles and flooded basements. Several trees were uprooted by strong winds accompanied the storm, blanket major roads and disrupting public transportation. Rome Metro Line A temporarily halted in affected areas due to water intrusion in tunnel. Meteorologists explained that storm was followed by a clash of warm, humid Mediterranean air with a cold front from the north, producing unusually large hailstones and intense winds. Events like this are increasingly frequent and intense due to climate change, warning the Trastevere minor climatologist of the University of Rome. Historic sites were not spared. Pisa, Navona, and Campo de Flori was underwater. Fire protective measures were quickly deployed of the Coliseum and Roman Forum to prevent damage to existing structure. Nearby tourists sought shelters under the coffee summits of the lighting up the stormy sky. Power outage affected thousands of homes and local authority urged residents to avoid unnecessary travel. Schools in the most affected districts were closed for the remainder of the day. Insurance companies have already begun assistance to extensive property damage with a preliminary estimate to reach millions of euros. Rome Major Roberto Gualtieri praised the rapid response of emergency crews and emphasizing civil vulnerability and increasingly extreme weather. We must strengthen our infrastructure and preparedness, he said. As the storm subsided, local emergency to assess the damage swept debris for the streets and helped stranded vehicles. Despite the chaos, Romans remain resilient. Rome has seen centuries of storm, said Monti, a resident, when during we rebuild and life goes on.
Le macchine se ne sono andate, sono volate.
Residents comparing the chaos and the scene from disaster film, the noise was different, said Andrea Messina, a shop owner near Teto Messina. It felt like a sky opened about us, hail, winds, thunder, and once and meteorologists attribute the storm and a cut-off low. A cold air remains trapped in the central Mediterranean that collided with the humid air from the Africa and the received and explosive weather. The event highlighting the turbulent trend. Italy has forced a 40% increase in the extreme rainfall over the past decade. In aftermath, cleanup crew worked to remove debris and restore essential service while local volunteers distributed food and blankets of those displaced. Schools and public officials reminded closer authority as damaged the city aging infrastructure. Historic landmarks were not spared. In the central historic hall, what appeared in the Pizzas and Contiat garden, with the coffees and markers suffered damage in a waiting in outdoor setting. Local farmers reported significant crop losses in Liletso, with a greenhouse and vineyard battered by ice. Social media exploded with the dramatic footage, hail bouncing off car, fountains of overwhelmed, and streets turned into icy rivers. Residents were left shaken yet resilient. We have weathered many storms, but this one felt apocalyptic. Authorities have urged caution by the city begin cleanup. Experts warn that such extreme weather events are becoming more frequent due to climate change, highlighting Rome's vulnerability to sudden destructive storm. The storm has left the city both in a shaken the stark reminder that even the eternal city is one of the mercy of nature fury. Yesterday, Rome was hit by unexpected and violent hailstorm that transformed its street square in the ancient monument into a surreal winter scene. In a matter of minutes, dark clouds unleashed hailstorm the size of a golf ball, torrential rain, strong winds forced residents to seek shelter. It was like a scene from a movie, but a horrible rare, and said Luca Bianchi, who filmed hailstorm, bridged off cars near Piazzanova. People were running for cars and the cars were damaged before anyone could reach. The storm caused widespread flooding with the water pouring down Via del Corso and the side streets near Trastevere. Cars were submerged, basements flooding, and several trees were uprooted. Firefighters were reported, more than 600 emergency calls, regional blocked cars following debris and power outage. The storm did not spare Rome's historic landmark. The Colosseum and Trevi Fountain were partly covered in hail, and St. Peter's Square suffered minor flooding. Tourists and local sewage shelter were filmed video in the storm, with it quickly went to viral. Meteorologists explained the storm as a supercell phenomenon caused by the warm Mediterranean air colliding with a cold northern front. Authorities estimated damage running into millions of euros. Meteorologists attribute the storm in the clash in the humid Mediterranean air with a cold front northern front, creating a supercell system capable of relaxing extreme energy over the short period. Social media exploded with the dramatic footage of hail bouncing the historic Prati streets, resembling the ice rivers, and residents walking through the water to reach safety. Authorities urged citizens to remain indoors, and an emergency crew working throughout the night to clear roads to restore electricity. By evening, Sicily town more scarce the storm approached trees, flooded streets, and damaged homes, several stark reminder of nature's unpredictable power. Residents' capacity returned to assess the destruction, capturing haunting image of Mediterranean island under assault from the elements. The storms can suddenly catch residents and travelers off guard, with winding streets were transformed into rivers. At least 2 people were injured by falling debris and dozens were rescued from the flooding cars, and the Valle de Porco responded more than 500 emergency calls. "I've never seen anything like it," said Luca Perry, a taxi driver whose car was caught in the flood waters near Tiber River. "I felt like the sky was falling." The storm hit central areas hardest, including Trastevere, Tuscany, Bologna and San Giovanni, where entire intersection were flooded by flash floods, lighting lit up the sky over the Colosseum and St. Peter Basilica, creating unforgettable images that quickly spread on social media. Rome looked at something out of the Bible. One eyewitness wrote online, "Thunder rumbled between the ancient monuments. Meteorologists from Italy's Severe Protection Department confirmed more than 19 millimeters of rainfall in less 19 minutes. This is a classic Mediterranean instability event, explained Dr. Elisa Conti from Italy's National Weather Service. His atmosphere were loaded in energy, and when it broke, the rainfall was explosive. A severe hailstorm swept across the northern Italy, battered cities from Milan to Bologna, with ice stones the size of a tennis ball and leaving a trail of destruction across the region. The storm, which broke out late on Wednesday evening, turned streets into rivers and the ice and causing chaos in that meteorologists describe it as one of the most severe hailstorms in the Italy's recent history. Residents of Lombardy and Emilia-Romagna described scenes of panic and thunder rumble overhead, and a huge hailstone pounded roofed cars and crops. "It felt like the sky was falling," said Franessa Rossi, a resident of Parma. "The noise was different. We thought the window would explode." Local authority reported hundreds of emergency calls. Firefighters worked through the night and rescue standard motorists to clear fallen trees. In Bergamo, entire neighborhoods were left without power, and strong winds and ice built up damaged power lines. Rome, Italy. A powerful and sudden hailstorm brought the Italian capital to the standstill, transforming the historic streets into frozen torrential and leaving residents in shock. Within minutes, dark clouds gathered over the eternal city, unleashed the violent downpour of ice that covered cars, monuments, and pigeons under the thick layer of white. Meteorologists described the event of extreme collective cell, an unusual atmospheric clash between warm Mediterranean humidity and a cold Arctic front. Hailstones, some exceeded 3 centimeters in diameter, pounded rooftops and vehicles. Standing off alarm across the city, wind gusts reached nearly 100 km/h, intensified the destruction, uprooted trees and scattered debris along the Tiber River. Emergency service received over 120 calls. In 2 hours, dozens of vehicles were abandoned the submerged streets, and firefighters worked tirelessly to free people trapped in the underpass. Several metro lines and bus roads were suspended due to flooding and power outage. "It looked like a scene from the disaster movie," said resident Jill Lombardi. "In a few minutes day turned into night, and the streets became a river in the ice." Hospitals reported on a sharp increase in importance of the bureaus and the minor factories. Businesses, especially cafes and open-air markets, suffered significant losses of the sudden flood destroyed supplies to outdoor sitting areas. Farmers to the outskirts of the city also serious losses, and a vineyard and olive groves were destroyed by the storm. Video quickly spread on social media showed hailstorm bouncing off incident capable of the flooding landmarks such as the Colosseum, shocking viewers around the world. Tourists caught on the storm described the experiences as apocalyptic. Climate experts warned that such extreme weather events are becoming more frequent in Italy, pointing out the former warmer seas contributed the strong storm. As the cleanup efforts continue, Rome is tying the financial damage and reflection to the capital vulnerability to sudden climate shock. Parts of the southern Italy are trying to recover from the torrential rain that caused a devastating flood in Sicily. Flooding cities, blocked roads, and leaving thousands of people without electricity. Officials have called the disaster a national emergency. Within hours, the streets of Palermo, Catania, and Messina turned into raging rivers that swept away cars and flooded the first floor to homes and businesses. The Italian Civil Protection Agency reported that more than 115 millimeters of rain fell in less than 20 hours, an amount that usually falls over several months. Local resident Maria Russo told reporters, "The water came so fast that in a matter of minutes my streets turned into river. We didn't have time to have anything." Emergency service rescue families standing on rooftops and firefighters worked throughout the night clearing debris and pumping water out of hospitals and schools. At least 20,000 households were left without power and many villages remain isolated after landslides blocked acid roads. Authorities confirmed several injuries, at least 3 deaths, although death toll could rise in such countries. The Italian capital Rome has been stunned after a sudden and violent hailstorm swept through the city, pelting streets, monuments, and neighborhoods with the eyes of the sky of Ghost Ball. The storm struck with little warning, turning summer strikes into a dramatic clash of thunder and lightning before unleashing torrents. The rain mixed with hail. When the minutes rolled, turned it wild, resembling winter snow rather than a September evening. "I felt like the sky was exploding," said Luca Bianchi, a taxi driver whose car window was shattered. "I lived here all life and never seen Rome like this." Dozens of people were threatened to injure, many from flying glass and fallen debris. Hospital reported cases to shock and debris and brushes, where several children were taken with a head injury caused by the hailstorm. Emergency service received across the city responded to collapsing shops, canopies, damaged vehicles, and flooded underpasses. Tourists were cut off guard in a historic era, with doors around the shelter inside the Colosseum and St. Peter Basilica and hailstorm battered courtyard and pieces. Social media quickly filmed with the several images of the Trastevere fountain surrounded by the sky, with the local described it into a scene from another world. Transport was now into disarray. Rome's metro facing delay after water seeped into tunnels, with the traffic jams scattered into kilometers and the driver abandoned damaged car. Agriculture outside the city was also hit. The vineyard in Lazio suffered severe damage and the entire crop destroyed just a week before harvest, raising fears of million losers to the local farmers. Meteorologists explained the storm was fueling the unusually warm Mediterranean air classes the colder north front, creating the perfect conditions to the hail formations. Experts warning that climate change is making such extreme events more frequent even in the region accustomed to them. Sicily has always faced extreme weather conditions, say climatologist Luca Bianchi, but the scale of intensity of this phenomenon is unprecedented. The sea surface temperature is at 3 Celsius above average and they contributed to strongest storm. The Italian Red Cross has launched a campaign to collect food, clothing and foods. Donations are accepted online in location collection center. Despite the destruction have also been stories by heroism. In Palermo, a police officer warning through the flood waters a rescue an elderly couple trapped in the flooded car. "We couldn't leave them there. The water was rising fast," he said. As cleanup beginning to Sicily starts to recover, officials warn the crisis far from over. Weather warning reminding police and another storm front could in southern Italy by the weekend. A severe storm hit Sicily, Italy, caused heavy rain, strong winds and widespread flooding in several cities including Palermo and Catania. The extreme weather events, which struck without warning, turned streets into rivers, disrupted transportation and left thousands of residents without electricity and with damaged property. Local authority issued several weather warnings on the island who received rainfall significantly above the seasonal average. Videos show a dramatic scene where, posted on social media, cars submerged into water, people waist deep water in the floodwaters, and emergency service trying to reach stranded cities. Meteorologists report that the storm deployed rapidly over the Mediterranean Sea under the influence of low pressure system combined into high sea surface temperature, and a phenomenon that is becoming increasingly common due to climate change. In the heart of the Mediterranean, the Italian island of Sicily has long been synonymous with the son of the denting coastline and seductive blend of the history and culture. However, this idyllic landscape recently has been transformed into a dramatic scene of nature fury. A formidable storm marked by resounding rain and fierce winds and lashed Sicily, unveiling the vulnerable of even the most picturesque square of the region with the forms of weather. The storm onslaught was achieved with the meteorologists barely able to predict and intensify before the unleashed food and made the apeon of fury. Within hours, streets and town crises across the Sicily were inundated, transformed urban center into unwelcoming, water-loaded mazes. The rain, increasing unforgiving, pointed the rain portrait of the region undecided by the elements. In Palermo, the Sicilian capital, scenes and the chaos unfolded. As streets and usually burst with the life and aroma of Sicily, crashed while deserted save for accessional vehicles struggling against the rising water. The iconic Trastevere, a testament of Sicily agriculture, dangerous stood with the silence within to unflooding calamity.
Vai di là, chiudi.
A powerful storm hit Sicily, plunging part of the Italian island into chaos as torrential rain, strong winds and flash floods swept through the gray skies, including Palermo, Catania and Messina. According to Italy's Civil Protection Department, the storm dumped more than 120 mm of rain in just a few hours, nearly a month's worth, flooding streets, collapsing roads and prompted dozens of evacuations. Emergency service responded more than 300 calls using helicopters to board the rescue trapped residents. In Palermo, dramatic footage showed cars flooding like toys and shops in the historic center of flooding. Giulia Romana, a 42-year-old local resident, said, "It was terrible. The water rushed into our house in a matter of minutes. The barrier had time to move the upper floor. Schools were closing in affected regions, and hundreds of people were left without power due to power outage." Authority also reported temporarily closed to Catania airport. The rail runway were flooded, caused delays and cancellations. Meteorologists explained the extreme weather conditions as a mitigant to rare Mediterranean hurricane formed by high sea temperature and unstable air masses.
Mirá acá con la velocidad que viene un contenedor, está aplastando gente, el auto ese se va.
Several roads were closed and flash floods combined with a thick layer of hail turned into highway into slippery, impossible surface. The damage to agriculture is catastrophic. Vineyard in Veneto and orange in Madeira have suffered total losers, with the farmers estimated damage at over 200 million euros. Years to work destroyed in 20 minutes, said winemaker Matteo Galli. We have never seen such large hailstones. They punched holes in a metal roof. Meteorologists from Italy National Meteorological Agency explained that the intense collision of most Mediterranean air and the cold northern winds created a supercell, a rotten thunderstorm capable of producing giant hailstones and a sudden gust of winds. The temperature dropped by more than 10 Celsius in less than an hour, shocking residents who were enduring a midsummer events. Hospitals in several provinces treated dozens of people, took cuts of berries from the broken glass and ice. Fortunately, no deaths were reported, although local officials warning to such extreme weather events are becoming more common. Italy is becoming increasingly vulnerable to violent weather, say climatologist Dr. Luca Bianchi. Rising sea temperatures in the Mediterranean are contributing to stronger and faster developing storms. At dawn, residents took to streets and found their streets covered in ice, cars damaged, windows broken and crops destroyed. For many Italians, it was a stark reminder of the growing instability of nature and warning for the storm to come. A meteorological from the Italian Air Force Meteorological Service analyzed this extreme weather as a resulting from the unusual collisions between warm Mediterranean air and the cold front moving south from northern Europe. He noted that climate change is increasing the frequency of such patterns. Forecaster Luca Bianchi stated, intense convective activity is occurring frequently, warning that storm could hit neighboring areas over the next few days. The hailstorm also caused delays at Rome Flamenco Airport, with several incoming flights temporarily diverted. City workers that become clearing clothing, drain and removing debris to prevent further flooding. As more rain was forecast overnight, experts noted that these storms were a stark reminder of Italy's vulnerability to rapidly intensify weather patterns, highlighted the growing impact of climate change to southern Europe. Italy. This week violent hailstorm struck parts of the northern and central Italy and lashed golf ball-sized ice and town of transformed roads, vineyards and city squares into frozen rivers. Described by meteorological as one of the most intense storms in the recent years, the disaster caused widespread damage to homes, vehicles and agriculture, leaving residents tented it is set in fury. The hardest hit region were Lombardy, Emilia-Romagna and Tuscany. In Bologna, hail shattered windows and damaged roofs. In Milan, a wide streets of ice-covered streets completely paralyzing traffic. Sudden flooding added the chaos, flooding emergency service with hundreds of rescue requests. Carlo Benedetti, a resident of Madeira, said it was terrified when in minutes the sky turned pitch black and the thousand near rooms of ice were crashing down. The hailstorms with such force they shattered titles and dented cars' bodies on the streets. According to meteorological from the Italy Civil Protection Department, the storm was triggered by the violent collision between warm air from the Mediterranean and a cold front moving from the Central Europe. Environmental scientists warn that such extreme weather events are part of the trend accelerated climate change. Professor Gianni Volpe of the University of Rome noted the Mediterranean is warming faster than most of the planet. He explained it warning seas supply base to the atmosphere near during storm. The moisture relatedness in emergency as a destructive hail. As Italy begins recovery efforts, authorities have declared a state of emergency in the multiple regions. Damage is estimated to be the hundreds of millions of euros, and the official warned that more extreme weather could continue over the coming weeks.